Welcome to Monster Monday. Tonight, I'm going to be taking on the 2018 zombie flick, Ravenous, which was on Netflix as of March, I think. I put this off for a while because I remember seeing negative reviews towards it, and I had so many films that I was watching at that time, blah, blah, blah. It just fell through the cracks. I kept seeing it on Netflix every time I would go through. And now that I'm knocking out all of my 2018 horror, I was like, all right, I need a Monster Monday. This is zombies. Screw it, let's do it, you know? And I watched this, and I am so mad at myself for not having watched this sooner. But on the flip side of that, I guess, I'm happy I saved it till now because I watched an amazing film last night. This is a contender for, top 10 of the year for me. I loved this film. What sucks about loving a film and reviewing it, right after you watch it, is that pretty much there's no way not to hype a film so much that a person is going to be extremely disappointed and upset with you. Like, you said this was amazing and this is shit. Even if it was just good to them, it's shit because their expectation was like, oh, this is the best movie of the year or whatever. I didn't say it was the best movie of the year, but it is one of the best, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. And I hate overblowing a film and then people watching it and being very let down by the hype of things. So I'm trying not to overhype, but I loved it. How can I not overhype it? So yeah, this is a French-Canadian film. So the whole film is in French. And it is not a super slow burn by any means. It's kind of a slower burn, but I never felt bored for 1 second. Not one single second. I want to say it's an hour and 40, so it's like 10 minutes longer than usual. The only issue that I have with this film, and it's something that it's like a non-issue, it's an issue that I'm like, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's just kind of like, I guess I would have liked this, is there's really no explanation for certain things that typically you would expect one for or want one for, but because of how much I loved the film, it really just became a non-issue. I was like, whatever, movie's so cool. The visuals, the atmosphere, the characters, the gore, the zombies, the fucking eeriness of this movie. This film has some genuinely eerie ass tension and sequences and visuals, and my God, did this film work so well for me. Probably because I expected it to be shit watching it. So there you go. Hype kills, man. I went into this being like, it's an hour and 40. It's in French. I heard bad things about it. Whatever. And I put it on thinking like, I got to sit through this thing. And man, like within 2-3 minutes, I was engaged. I was in this thing the whole runtime. I didn't even want to look away from the screen. I unfortunately had to break it up because I had to go to bed with like 20 or 30 minutes left. And as soon as I woke up, I watched the rest because I was just like, man, I got to get back to this thing. I can't get it out of my head. I was probably having freaking zombie dreams all night, just wanting to get back to this movie. But so it's just a typical zombie movie in its in its premise. But there's definitely uniqueness to it. It's a unique take on the subgenre, a subgenre that has hurt in the last, decade maybe. But I honestly have seen a lot of really unique, cool zombie movies this year. I just reviewed one a couple days ago called The Cured with Ellen Page, which I really enjoyed. But this movie, and I've seen a bunch, I've probably seen like maybe 5 at least, if not more, zombie films this year. This is the best. This is the best zombie movie of 2018 that I have seen. And I don't see anyone beating it. as I said, it worked perfectly for me. I would, if I did a rating, man, it would be really, really high, like in the nines. You know, not a perfect 10, because I saved that for like full-on masterpieces that like redefine cinema or nostalgia. But high nines. It's freaking fantastic. All right, so now I've completely blown it, and now everyone can hate me because they're like, it wasn't as good as you said. All right. But yeah, so as I said, it's kind of, the setup is a typical zombie flick. I don't really know how long this has been. They don't really get into that. That's pretty vague. There's a bunch of random characters that you know, some of them were together when they met. And, you know, there's a lot of surprises in this one. People die very quickly. When people get picked off in this, man, it happens fast. And it's like, oh, okay, they're dead. That's it for them. And you think they're going to be some big thing, and no. And one of the main characters here, which creates some good tension in itself, is bit, but she claims she was bit by a dog. And there's this, you know, this untrusting feeling in the air with everyone towards her. And they just kind of keep this eye on her throughout. And you don't know if she's ever been bit, you know, throughout the movie. You're just like, is she? Is she not? And I think that's a great part of this movie as well. Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to get into spoilers now. But man, if you're into a little bit slower burn character pieces, oh, the characters. There's a lot of jokes in this movie, like actual, like, you know, 3 guys walk into a bar, blah, 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 jokes, maybe like 4 or 5 of them at least, maybe more. And I thought like every one of them was funny. I don't usually like jokes, and especially when they're being delivered in French and I have to read them. Reading jokes isn't always the greatest. You usually have to listen to it, and the person's timing or their inflection is what makes the joke funny. But the characters in this are so strong, and the jokes were funny that it just worked. And I was like, I was laughing. It was good stuff. So, all right. Let's get into the damn spoilers, shall we? Spoilers, people, spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, shut the damn thing off and go watch a slower burn, but not slow, okay? We got fast zombies in this, which if you're into fast zombies, like I am, I always appreciate that. And these aren't typical zombies. There's something unique to them. And as I said, it doesn't get explained, but it's cool, and it creates neat visuals that these other films don't have. All right, so spoilers, sorry. I keep going off track here, but man, I'm so excited about this movie. Opening kill is great. Very tense. And then these guys are telling their jokes, and they're burning the bodies. And I have to assume this has been going on for a while, because these guys are burning human bodies in the road, and they're just telling jokes and laughing like it's old hat. So it has to be months in, because you're not burning bodies and telling jokes a day after. I mean, unless you're completely psychotic, which these guys don't appear to be. And this businesswoman, she is so badass. She's the most badass character in this movie. She is so cool. I love her character throughout. Her dialogue, her acting, everything about her is awesome. She just pulls the car over, throws on the radio, and just hacks the fuck out of this zombie. Then just gets back in the car, and there's like a dead kid standing right outside her door. And that's just it. Like, the zombies in this, some of them react, and I don't know. Maybe on multiple viewings, I can understand what these zombies are up to and why. Like, sometimes they're running at you, and maybe it's because you made a noise or move, and they are like, you know, T-Rex, and they can only track you if you move. I don't know, but these things usually are just standing there, and then they build these monuments. We'll get to that, but and then you see that when the kid's standing next to the car, it pans back, and there's just this head in the road, and it's blood everywhere, and a decapitated body laying there. The gore in this is solid as fuck. There's a little CGI on like a head explosion, but it looks really, really good. It's a CGI enhancement, and it actually looks pretty damn good. So I didn't mind it at all. And as I said, I adore running zombies. So running zombies, great characters, awesome atmosphere, good kills, the whole thing. Like this fucking movie, man. This I will be shocked if this doesn't end up in my top 10 of the year. I would love for, films to knock this out, because why not? You see movies even better than this? Fine by me. Oh man, when they're driving the truck, him and his buddy, they're driving the truck, and they see, like, he sees that like mom and her kid just standing down that like dirt road through the trees, and they're just standing there looking. That was one of my favorite images of the whole year. It was like a eerie painting. And then they back up and they're still standing there. And he just grabs the gun, he goes out, and then the mom's there, and then the mom comes out and kills him, and then the kids have all like, congregated together, and they're like sneaking up behind him, and he's being chased. Amazing scene. Just so well done, so well constructed, so well thought out, so well executed. My God. Man, I look forward to whatever this director does next for sure. Sorry, I keep worshiping this film, and I'm being a tad redundant, and I don't like doing that, but fuck, I can't help it. And let's see. The talk now, his friend getting bit or scratched. I think it doesn't matter, but I think he gets bit, and they're laying in the back of the truck, and they're kind of, reminiscing about the things that they didn't accomplish in their lives, the things that they wish they could have done. And if they could go back in time now, knowing what was going to happen and knowing the end was coming, what would they have done differently? And the one guy talks about is taking his kids to Disneyland, and then the other guy. And this is a good way to address that he's single. But it never comes to fruition, really. Like, you think that there's going to be this romance between Bonin and Tanya. I don't know. I don't know how to say these guys' names. But whatever, the two main characters here, you think there's going to be some kind of a romance. It never really actually happens. Not a kiss and a fuck. There's definitely chemistry between them throughout, but it never becomes anything, which is a shame, because they clearly had something going, and they even had a kid. But get to that. But that talk in the back of the truck is super endearing. Man, was I completely sold on this film after that. Like, not only did we have that great opening sequence, we had that awesome freaking kill with the businesswoman, then it moves into the jokes, then it moves into that creepy scene out in the woods, then it moves into these guys. And we're like 10 minutes, 15 minutes into this movie, and I already feel so emotionally attached to this guy who's dying in the back of the truck that I've maybe spent 5 minutes with. The way they play off of each other, the way that they were playing off of each other earlier, you instantly like these guys. And when his friend's dying in front of him, and they're just laying there, and it's not emotional to where he's sitting there like crying and being like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel good, whatever. He's just like, they're just talking about going to Disneyland, and him being like, I wish I would have taken flowers to this girl I had a crush on, and them ribbing each other and kind of being like, it's the most corny shit I ever heard, and like, this is so generic and whatever. But it's endearing, it's sweet. Man, sorry. I'm not apologizing, but I can't. I'm just like so into this movie. And then he meets the girl. She's bitten by the dog, which we already talked about. And then she blows that guy's head off, which is great. A little CGI, but not bad. And them parking somewhere with the windows down and looking out into the forest was pretty silly, since these things just run up on them. But then we get this character I wrote his name down somewhere in here, and I probably won't be able to pronounce it. Maybe I'll find it. Oh, Demirs? Demirs, this guy who keeps jumping up and scaring them. When he jumps up and scares him the first time, I was like, what an idiot. And then we realized this guy's off in the head. He doesn't even realize what's happening out there. And then he jumps up and scares him again. And I'm like, all right, you know that this scene is coming. You just know it after you see it twice. You're like, okay, this guy is going to get shot by someone because he tries to jump up and scare them. It's going to happen. It's set up. So it's very obvious. It's very predictable. But it is so hilariously satisfying when it happens. Anyway, even though I knew it was coming, it still was unexpected in the moment that it happens, and the way it's done, the way he's shot, the way his body's thrown, because the first 2 times it's in a car. So you're thinking, okay, the third time's going to be in a car again, it's going to be on the road. So I think that's why it was able to throw me, and I wasn't expecting it in the moment, even though I knew it was going to happen some point in the film. But yeah, I was waiting for it, and I was like, that's going to happen, like, let's get to it. You know, and when it did, it was so much more satisfying and hilarious than I expected it, because I had expected it, you know? So that was an interesting thing for me, because usually that doesn't happen. Usually when you can predict something in a film, it lessens it. But it was unexpected, expected, if that makes sense. So it actually even worked better because I expected it, which is a rarity to say the least. And then it's like an instant family. Like, he finds the girl, then he finds the kid, and then they even go off and almost find grandparents for the kid. So they form this like tight little family, and then they're dispatched so fast. Like, this movie, even though the tone of it seems slow, just thinking back about the film, we're introduced to characters and they're killed very quickly. But I can tell you this, I remember every character in this film. They're very well developed for only being in the movie, maybe 5-10 minutes each. So this is a great character piece because all the characters work so strongly. They're memorable. Every time one of them died, I was like, bummer. I liked them. That's a shame. And yeah, that just works so well. And when he tells the jokes to the kid and the woman in the car, like he's trying to replace his friend, and he's telling him the jokes that he would have told his friend, and they just look at him like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I thought that scene was hilarious and sad too. Like, it was hilarious on the surface, but then when you looked under the surface and you realized the pain of him missing his friend and trying to bond with his new family, and then rejecting the notion and him being like, the person I had to tell these jokes to is now gone, and we're in a post-apocalyptic world where when a new person dies, like, that's it, man. Not many babies are going to be born, you know? You got what you got, and every time another one's knocked off, you just have less and less people. Because in a post-apocalyptic zombie world, you know, there's very few people left, and the more that die, that's the less people there are out there for you to converse with. So it's just, the pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's just, I don't know, it made me think of that in that moment. It made me think of his friend and his bond with him. They've obviously known each other for a very long time, the way they were talking. And it's a funny scene, but it's a sad scene. And that's a lot of this movie. There's a lot of humor, but then it's really sad underneath. Like, that guy who gets shot. It's a funny scene. It's like, he jumps out, he scares him, she shoots him, he gets thrown back. It's so ridiculous, and the scene is funny, but at the same time, you can tell this guy is mentally off, and he doesn't even realize the zombie apocalypse is happening. And then they tell her, like, he was bitten when he wasn't. At least we don't think so, and they're all lying to her to make her feel better because it was an accident, and this guy shouldn't have been doing it. So it's funny, and then it's totally sad, and then it's totally like heartwarming that they would all tell her this lie to make her feel better. It's so layered. It's so multi-layered throughout the film. There's comedy, and underneath it is sadness, fuck, man. The more I talk about this movie, the more I want to move in higher and higher on the rating. It's just, now the whole monument thing, I don't know what that is. The only thing I had guessed on my first viewing when I was watching it is that these are essentially relics of the past. These zombies are like 28 Days Later rage virus type zombies where they're not dead and they have some functionality of the brain. There is some part of them left. And so when they're building these altars, these monuments, whatever you want to call them, these totems of sorts, they're in a collection of all the relics that they're familiar with. And these things keep them tethered to the world. And when people draw their attention away from these things, they then go zombie mode because there's nothing tethering them to their, human self. The self that they were before they were infected. And so they're docile when they're around the thing that has kept them, grounded in the very small amount of functionality they have left in their brain, the memories of the old. That's what I've come up with. That's the only thing I can really surmise here from watching this. But I thought that was great. I've never seen anything like that before. We kind of get something playing around with this here and there. I mean, they even did it in like Day of the Dead with Bud, not Bud the Chud. That's a fucking funny slip there. But yeah, he remembers the gun and the headphones and all that stuff. I haven't seen Day of the Dead in a long time. I need to rectify that. But zombies having any kind of activity in the brain and memory of a past life is something that is rarely explored, and I thought it was really uniquely explored here without an explanation but yeah, so good stuff. And creepy and cool imagery too. That's what also adds to it. You can break this all down and say what I said and whatnot, but just the visuals of it is what's so cool about it, in addition to everything else that I just guessed. Not like I have the actual answers, but it's just so cool. And they're standing there, and there's just this huge tower of chairs. Why it's all chairs, I don't know. I mean, there could be some metaphor there that I'm not getting. I'm sure if I sat here for 5 minutes, I'd come up with something absolutely asinine. But yeah, it's so cool. And it's practical too, from what I can tell. So they got like a fucking 1,000 chairs and stacked them up like that. It's neat. And yeah, and then the old ladies they join up with are badass. I really like them a lot. And their deaths are sad. And when that chick gets her face ripped off and she just has skin hanging there and just swaying as she's talking, and then the other chick comes up and just blows her head off from behind. It's so sad. Fuck, man. And as I said, you don't even really get to know these characters, but somehow you're attached to them. They're so good. And let's see here. I wrote something down here like, the people in this game get picked off on their journey faster than a game of Oregon Trail. That's how this movie feels to me. It feels like you're in the old covered wagon days, and when you used to go from town to town, the journey was treacherous, man. It wasn't like getting in your car and having to, drive in an air-conditioned 70-mile-per-hour little rocket. You got in a freaking covered wagon with no shocks, and people died of dysentery. Like you'd go from Arizona to California, or even further, and it would be like 20 people left together. And when you get there, there'd only be like 8 of you left. It was just part of traveling. It was like, well, a couple of us are gonna die along the way, and that's kind of how this turns out. Except for like everyone dies. And even if we have this little girl with the doll, and when the doll is taken away from her, it's like it doesn't just piss off her, it pisses off all of the zombies. Like it's like her doing that thing. It's like a chatty Cathy doll. You pull the string, yak yak. But it's not me that pulls the string, it's you. What movie is that, people? I switched that freaking dialogue around a little bit there, but wow. Del Griffith. But yeah, I don't know. They react so in unison when they take that thing from her. It's like, whoa, what the hell, man? Was the noise of that thing keeping them at bay or what? They get pissed. Maybe when one of them gets pulled out of their memory, all of them get angry about it. It's like a hive mind. The blood fountain with the hands. I'm not sure what the hell that was. It was just a body squirting blood, I guess. Why it would have that much blood, I don't know. The movie's pretty realistic otherwise. But I don't care. I don't care what it is. It is one of the most striking visuals of 2018. There's just hands, zombie hands, all on the screen, just about this high. Tons of them reaching up. And then just blood. And then when people die, like when they give up, especially that old lady and that old man and whatever, they just stand there and they let the zombies come at them. She just kind of closes her eyes and they just mob her. It's such a great shot. It's so well framed and it's so terrifying. It actually makes zombies scary again. Like zombies aren't a scary thing to me until they make them like this and they shoot them right. And yeah, I mean, and even the little girl here at the end, it's almost like she takes mementos of her like short-lived family. She takes the dad's shotgun and she takes the mom's accordion. Yes, I know it's not her actual mom and dad. I'm just saying they kind of bonded this little family together for a short amount of time. And then she takes the accordion, she takes the shotgun. It's like mom and dad stuff. Now she leaves the gun behind eventually, but she does have the two for a minute. And I just thought that was a cute little sentiment. I'm probably the only one that even came up with that shit. I'm sure the director didn't even intend that, but that's how I saw it. But then she has her little accordion. The two characters run off to save her so that she can run off, even though she's a little kid. She's probably going to get killed. They're all probably going to get killed. Probably should have stayed at the house and tried to fight them off. But man, I'm just, thinking about this movie. It really does move fast. There really isn't any downtime. There's always a moment of either, drama or good drama, though. Not like slow, taking your time. Everyone's, trying to see. No, nothing like that. The drama is great and fast, and then the comedy, and then the chases. That whole chase through the forest when they leave the house is so intense. So it's all great. But then, this guy pulls up in a freaking like roadster off-road vehicle, and that would be a great car for this zombie apocalypse, man. And he takes her, and she gets in the little seat there. It's not a good seat for her, though. They'd get right at her. And then there's an after credits sequence, so thank you to Slade for that one, for telling me. And we get to see that the two main characters here who went to save the girl, Bane, whatever the fuck, Tanya. I wrote their names down, but obviously not for a point. But they end up together, kind of, as zombies, and they're looking at a parrot for some reason. Maybe I missed the significance of that. But yeah, so that's about it. Who has seen this movie? Did you guys love it as much as I did? Will this end up on your top 10? Do you think I'm absolutely crazy and I'm blowing this film way more than deserved? Hopefully you've seen this film if you're at this part in it. But if for some reason you haven't, even though I just explained everything to you, please watch it. It is so damn good. And I had such a fun time watching it. And I hope to watch it again in the near future. But I got a lot of 2018 films left. A lot. Like 50. So I gotta get to them. I don't got time for no rewatches. All right, I'll see you later tonight, guys.